Just 24 hours ago, an Iranian Shahed 139 drone, a military-grade hunter, not a toy, locked onto the USS Abraham Lincoln. It didn't just fly by. It simulated an attack run against America's most powerful nuclear carrier. And that wasn't even the worst part. Hours later, 6 Iranian gunboats swarmed a U.S.-flagged oil tanker like a pack of wolves, ordering the captain to surrender.
This is not a diplomatic incident. This is a paradox that defies all logic. Why would Iran punch the United States in the face 2 days before shaking its hand? The mainstream media calls it tension. I call it a stress test. Iran isn't attacking the ship. They are attacking the psychology of the man in the White House. They are asking a deadly question. Will Donald Trump fire back, or is he desperate for a deal? You need to understand the stakes. This isn't just about a drone falling into the ocean. This is Iran betting their entire regime that America is too afraid of $200 oil to pull the trigger. They think they can hold a gun to the head of the global economy and call it negotiation. But as that F-35 fighter jet lit up its afterburners to intercept the drone, Iran might have just realized they made a catastrophic miscalculation. Friday is coming. The diplomats are packing their bags. But after yesterday, the only thing on the table might be a declaration of war.
Now, hit the rewind button. To understand why an Iranian commander would sign a death warrant by attacking a U.S. carrier, you have to look at what happened last week on Truth Social. Donald Trump didn't just send a ship, he sent a message. He posted that a massive armada was heading to the region, ready to execute its mission with speed and violence. Most people read that and saw a threat. Iran read that and saw a bluff. You see, Tehran is suffering from a crisis of analysis. They know exactly how Joe Biden would react. Limited strikes, stern warnings. But they have no idea which version of Donald Trump is currently sitting in the Oval Office. Is it the Twitter Trump who threatens fire and fury but stays home? Or is it the Predator Trump who turned Qasem Soleimani into a memory in 2020? This is where the story gets dark. Iran isn't acting out of rage. They are acting out of curiosity. They are collecting data points. They saw Trump bomb their nuclear facilities in June. They saw him invade Venezuela 4 weeks ago. But they still need to answer one final question before the Friday talks. Will he risk a full-scale war right now? So they designed a test. They sent a drone to the one place Trump said was off-limits. It wasn't an attack. It was a probe. They poked the bear to see if it would bite or just roar. But there is a problem with testing a volatile system. Sometimes it explodes before you get your answer. Iran thought they were playing a game of chess. They forgot that Trump might be playing a game of Russian roulette. Think of this operation like a magician's trick, but with high explosives. The brilliance of Iran's strategy wasn't the attack itself. It was the synchronization. They didn't just throw a rock. They launched a sophisticated pincer movement designed to overload the American decision-making loop. Mechanism 1. The eye in the sky. At high noon, the Shahed 139 appeared on the radar. Stop imagining a small plastic quadcopter you buy at the mall. The Shahed 139 is a long-range military beast, a near replica of the American MQ-9 Reaper. It carries advanced optics and, more importantly, it carries missiles. It flew straight at the USS Abraham Lincoln like a guided arrow. This wasn't surveillance, it was a dominance display. The drone ignored military radio frequencies, ignored jamming attempts, and kept closing the distance.
Mechanism 2. The Wolf Pack at Sea. While the U.S. Navy was looking up, the trap snapped shut down below. In the Strait of Hormuz, the choke point of the world's energy supply, 6 Iranian fast-attack gunboats materialized out of the haze. They didn't just patrol, they surrounded the Stena Impero, a U.S.-flagged oil tanker. They issued a chilling command over the radio. "Stop your engines. Prepare to be boarded." Do you see the mechanics of the trap? If the U.S. Navy defends the carrier, the tanker gets hijacked, and Iran has a hostage. If the Navy rushes to the tanker, the carrier is vulnerable to a drone strike. It was a stress test on 2 fronts, calculated to fracture the U.S. command structure. They wanted to see if the American defense grid would crack under the pressure of a multi-domain assault. It was a perfect plan on paper. But there is one mechanical flaw in trying to hijack a ship protected by the most advanced military on Earth. The United States Navy does not just look in one direction. And then the talking stopped. Captain Tim Hawkins of Central Command said, "America took de-escalatory measures." That is military code for "we begged them to turn around." They flashed lights, they radioed warnings, they probably even jammed the frequencies. But the machine kept coming. At that specific moment, the rules of engagement shifted from politics to physics. An F-35C Lightning II, the most expensive, advanced stealth fighter in human history, screamed off the deck of the Lincoln. It didn't do a flyby. The pilot locked the target. He pressed the button. And in a fraction of a second, the Iranian drone was erased from the sky over the Arabian Sea. No debris, no drama, just a cloud of smoke where a threat used to be. But here's where the story turns from an action movie into a dark comedy. Immediately after the explosion, Iranian state media, Tasnim News, released a report. They claimed the drone was on a lawful mission to film the U.S. fleet. They said it captured great footage, sent the data back, and then, quote, lost communication due to a technical fault. Think about the absurdity of that statement. Iran wants you to believe that their military drone just happened to have a technical fault and go silent at the exact nanosecond an American missile hit it. They are admitting they were spying on the Lincoln, but they are terrified to admit they got shot down. The White House didn't play that game. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt went on live TV and killed the narrative. The drone was acting aggressively. End of story. One side is saying it was an accident. The other side is saying it was an act of war. And usually in these he said, she said moments, the truth is found in the wreckage sinking to the bottom of the ocean. Here is the single fatal mistake in Tehran's calculus. They are playing by the old rule book. The Iranian regime believes that escalating violence creates leverage. They think that if they create enough chaos on Wednesday, they will have a stronger hand at the negotiating table on Friday. It is a classic extortion tactic. Look what we can do to your ships. Now give us a better deal. But this arrogance blinds them to the reality of who they are dealing with. Donald Trump does not view attacks as leverage. He views them as insults. By attacking the USS Abraham Lincoln, Iran didn't gain a bargaining chip.
They handed the hawks in Washington a loaded weapon. Look at the timing. While Iran was busy playing pirate in the Strait of Hormuz, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was meeting with Trump's envoys. Israel has been screaming one message for years: you cannot trust Iran. And what does Iran do? They prove Israel right 48 hours before the peace talk.
The fatal flaw is the assumption that the United States is desperate for a deal. Iran offered a concession, zero nuclear enrichment, but attached a poison pill. The U.S. military must leave the Middle East. That is not a negotiation. That is a demand for surrender. And by punctuating that demand with a drone attack, Iran didn't scare the United States out of the region. They just guaranteed that the massive armada is going to stay there, with its finger hovering over the fire button. They wanted to look strong before the meeting. Instead, they just gave the President of the United States the moral justification to walk away from the table, or flip it over entirely. So, here is the final countdown. We are less than 48 hours away from the most dangerous Friday in recent history. The diplomats are flying to Oman. The pilots on the USS Abraham Lincoln are sleeping in their flight suits, and the oil markets are holding their breath. If those talks collapse, or if Iran launches one more drone, the price of oil won't just rise. It will detonate. We are talking about $150 a barrel overnight. Gas prices doubling in your hometown. Inflation exploding. That is the economic nuclear bomb Iran is threatening to drop if they don't get their way. Donald Trump is now facing the ultimate choice. Does he sit down with the people who just tried to kill American sailors? Or does he authorize the speed and violence he promised? The F-35 is back on the deck. The Iranian gunboats have returned to base. But the silence in the Persian Gulf right now is louder than any explosion. It is the calm before the storm. Now, I need you to go on the record before history happens. Look at the facts. 2 attacks in 24 hours. A peace meeting on Friday. A president who hates to lose face. What happens next? Go to the comments right now. Type "strike" if you think Trump will retaliate militarily. Type "deal" if you think this is all just a negotiation tactic. Or type "escalate" if you think Iran is just getting started. The clock is ticking. Let's see who predicts the future correctly.